We're back in between segments with our guy, Bill Schrader of Packers fame and lacrosse. It's time for another top 5 list on the Inside Wisconsin show, presented by the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. A top university in Wisconsin, UW-Platteville ranks in the top 20 for regional universities in the Midwest because of its quality academic programs, expert faculty, and affordable tuition. Learn more at uwplatt.edu.
Yeah, and I'm like, okay, well, who else in the Packer history? Who's a great small school guy like Bill Schrader? And then you go back and think, my God, in the 30s and 40s, so many of them were. And what's defined as small school? Anyway, and then I thought to myself, I was literally watching SportsCenter, and because it's Black History Month, we had a little vignette about some of the great African-American athletes. Well, that's it. Why do we do that? Smaller schools, or in this case, historic Black college and universities, HBCUs. And how about a list of, since February's Black History Month, what I think are the 5 greatest Packers who went to HBCUs. So that's where we landed on that. And it comes with caveats, right? Because I remember growing up, and Eldon Roche played on the defensive line on some of those teams in the 70s that weren't great, and he went to Southern. And I can remember getting a Packer, going to the Packer office and paying a dime or what it was to get they'd sell you pictures out of the file. And I had one of Kenny Payne, who went to Langston University, which is in Oklahoma, and guys that, like, you remember probably Corey Bradford, who was from Jacksonville State, or Cledius Hunt, Kentucky State. So those are all in there. So these are my guys. Okay. And so, as always with the top 5, we begin with number 6.
Honorable mention.
Which is Ezra Johnson. Remember big Ezra Johnson? First round pick. Don't you remember when who was the guy said, "Oh yeah, do you remember who the 2 first-round draft picks were?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it was Ezra Johnson and Mike Butler."
I do remember
Ezra went to Morris Brown University. He was a first-round pick in 1978, and he was number 9. He had some seasons that were amazing. Then he had some injuries. He was up and down. But before they made sacks an official stat, there was a year where they went back and looked, and he had 20 and a half.
Oh, wow. So
when he was good, he was really good. So we have Ezra Johnson. He's just on the outside. Number 5, Elijah Pitts. Great Packer. Played on all 5 of the championship teams for Vince Lombardi. Scored a couple of touchdowns in the first Super Bowl. Coached in the NFL for many, many years. Had a 25-year coaching thing. He went to Philander Smith University. That's in Arkansas. So he's my number 5. Number 4, another one of my childhood Packers that I love. Number 48, Kenny Ellis.
Okay.
Great cornerback.
Look at these guys as you say it.
Kenny Ellis was a great cornerback, a couple of time Pro Bowl. He got drafted, and he was a wide receiver and a kick returner at Southern. And then Herb Adderley went off to the Cowboys, and they took him in the office and said, "We think you can play corner." So the dude literally switched positions.
Jeez.
And became a Pro Bowl player. Kenny Ellis, who later was a long-time chaplain for LSU. And one of the guys that on the LSU coaching staff, who is a Packer fan through and through, Todd Lane, he's like, yeah, Kenny's right over there. And I so wanted to go meet him, and time restraints, and couldn't. And it's one of the great things, a great miss in my life right now, that I have not been able to get to him. Number 3, here's one you will know. Another defensive back.
Okay.
Second round pick. 2005.
What years did he play? 2005.
With Bethune-Cookman. You with me yet?
Hold on. 2000.
Nick Collins.
Damn. No, I would have not gotten that. That one I know, though. I don't have to research him.
Right. That's a guy that, honestly, if not for injuries, is going to the Hall of Fame.
He was here on the show when you were over in London. Yeah. That was awesome.
Yeah. The other 36 behind Leroy Butler, Super Bowl champion. And literally, if he doesn't get hurt, he's in the Hall of Fame. Number 2, this is totally your guy. We talk about him all the time. But he's number 2 on my list, Donald Driver. Alcorn State, yeah. 7th round.
I was going to say he had to be on the list. I knew he went to a small college. I wasn't sure if it was an HBCU.
Yep. Yeah. Alcorn State. What's crazy is not only was a 7th round pick, the Packers had 12 picks in that draft in 1999, and he was the 12th guy.
Yeah.
So like
Nuts.
he wasn't even there, and all he did is set franchise records for catches and yards and everything, but touchdowns.
Sixth round,
seventh
round,
seventh round, and he was the second seventh rounder. Might even have been, maybe they had 3 that year, but he was the last pick they made, 213th. And Bill Schrader, by the way, was picked 181st in the draft.
6th round.
Yep, 6th round, 181st when he came through.
Number 1
is another guy who was picked 181st. But here's the difference between the NFL, right? Which one was smaller? Bill was picked in the 6th round. This guy was picked in the 15th round.
Yeah, so this is an old timer.
Yep.
Well, I know the name.
Oh, totally. Except he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, we talked about this.
So I think he's the greatest, one of the probably, you take out Reggie. I think he's one of the 3 greatest Packer defensive players ever, Willie Davis, who went to Grambling State.
Yeah.
Hall of Famer Willie Davis, 5 championships, the heart of that defense. Went on to be an uber successful businessman after football, even better than he was. He was the guy that, Lombardi loved. I think, Forrest Gregg, he always said, was the best football player he ever coached. Horning, for all his rebelliousness, kind of had his heart. And I think if he wanted to start any team, I'm not so sure Lombardi wouldn't have started with Willie Davis to anchor his defense. So there'll be people that would argue Donald Driver over Willie Davis. Luckily, it's just my list, so I get to say who I want. I don't know that I'd argue, like if I lost the argument, I'd go, okay, so he's number 2.
Sure.
But Elijah Pitt's amazing. His son played in the NFL for a little while too. Kenny Ellis, number 48. Gosh, he was back there with Al Matthews and Willie Buchanan. Nick Collins, who's fantastic, Donald Driver, and Willie Davis. Those are my guys. And on a future date, I think we should tell the story of Charlie Choo Choo Brackens of Prairie View A&M. That's just
when you say we, I think you're going to do a great job at that. And I will listen just like everybody else.
He's a guy you should know.
All right, we'll get to know.
A great historic figure in the NFL who does not get his due. But was a historic pick by the Packers and only played through 2 passes. So it's a story for another day, but it'll be a great story.